What's up, gang? Andrew Cooper here for Coop's Fantasy Football Fiasco. This is not the last show of the year. We're doing one more Monday, and then we're doing one next Friday. This is the last show of a giant slate of games with every team playing, though. So I know your fantasy football championships are done. I know you guys won a bunch of leagues because I saw it in the winner's circle in the Fantasy Alarm DFS Discord platform. So I've already seen all the trophies. I've seen the championships, but we still have money to win. And because most leagues are done, what we're doing, we're bringing in a DFS master. I'm bringing in my guy, Jordan Vanek from the 33rd team, and we got a lot to talk about. So why not bring him in right now? Let's get him going. Jordan, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, dude. It's always good to see you. Haven't seen you since Canton, but it's been a long season. I'm sure you and I can share the same disappointment as I'm a Panthers fan and you're a Patriots fan, so we don't exactly get to cheer for many points on our teams. But hey, you've had a little bit of fun. You had that Thursday night game against the Steelers. As a Panthers fan, I'll always have the first quarter when we were up 14-0 against the Dolphins. That's all I have from this season. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, at least we still have our pick, dude. That's that's the brutal part for you guys. But you'll be all right, man. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some rough spots with, I mean, Miles Sanders really rug pulled me for sure. I mean, your best player is best player in offense, like 34-year-old wide receiver. So there's some work to be done. There's some work to be done. Before we get into the offseason stuff, we should focus on this week, man. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of ways to take advantage this week. Whether it's going to be, and I want to get your opinion on a lot of this stuff because I know you deep dive on it, incentives, things like that, guys sitting, backups playing. There's a lot of that going on. So what we're going to do today, folks, and thank you guys for hanging out. Angelo, see you in the chat. Thanks for trickling in. What we're going to do today is we're going to go through the games like we usually do, but we're going to focus on weekly rather than, if you have week 18 questions, get them in the chat. We'll help you out there. But we're going to focus on the weekly and the DFS stuff. And we're going to categorize players into three groups. FFPC plays, which on FFPC, you can play pretty much whoever you want, right? You can go in, there's no stacking because you can only play one guy from each team, but you can play the chalk of the chalk. Then we're going to call the rest of the guys DFS plays or losers, guys that we're not using at all. So does that work for you, Jordan?
Oh, that works perfect.
Perfect, dude. So, yeah, get your questions in chat. Let me know who you guys like. Let me know who you like for FFPC. If you're not set up with FFPC, you have to go do that now. Use promo code Coop. They'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more. And I say do it now because their biggest and best contests are coming up shortly with the playoff challenge, right, Jordan? Like where that's one where the weekly one is checkers because you're just picking players. That one's chess because you got to pick who's not only going to have blow-up games, but who's going to make it deep in the playoffs, including the championship, which those games are worth double the Super Bowl week. So get set up now because those contests sell out. The $200 one and the $35 one sell out. So go to myffpc.com, get set up with promo code Coop. So Jordan, no Thursday night games. So why don't we just start getting into these slates? I kind of just want to really quick hit on Saturday slate. It's only a 2-game slate. Right. Mm-hmm. So for DFS purposes, I know you're big into DFS. Why don't you, if you don't mind, just give everybody out there a quick idea of what gives you such a big advantage? Because I've explained it on the show. I've dropped your name a bunch of times. We're talking about different coverages, right? And the 33rd team, the edge of the 33rd team and the great tools you guys have. But why don't you guys just give people a quick rundown of why you've been selected for the second biggest DFS slate besides week 1?
It's one of those things where from a coverage standpoint, like teams, they are who they are and they adapt each week. So there are certain teams that like to mix things up. There are certain teams that like to run certain coverages versus specific quarterbacks. Like, for example, running quarterbacks and generally get a lot of cover 4, which is called quarters coverage. It's referred to on the broadcast as like an umbrella coverage, where all the defensive backs have their eyes in the backfield and kind of focusing in on that run game, the quarterback that's running, like Lamar Jackson gets it a ton. Jalen Hurts has gotten it a ton throughout. However, in recent weeks, like I've noticed teams just getting away with running cover 1 against them and kind of bringing that extra pressure. And for whatever reason, their offense is not set up to win there. So from a coverage standpoint, I always try to dive and figure out like what are these teams' game plans? How are they going to adapt? And like for the Saturday slate in particular, you have the Baltimore Ravens resting their players. They have been one of the most complex teams in the NFL from a coverage standpoint. They run everything. But today, or Saturday, I should say, they're just going to keep it simple. They're going to keep it in. We're going to try to run like cover 1, cover 3, kind of get guys to just not play what they normally play because they don't need to show anything more, and just keep things try to in front of them, try to keep it simple, try to stop the run.
For the folks that don't know, can you let them know what? So cover 1 and cover 3, both one high safety looks. Can you let them know the difference between those for the people that might not know?
Yeah. So cover 1 is a man coverage. You can either have, you have one safety deep, but then your other safety, there's a multitude of things he could do where he could come in and play zone. He could come in and guard the tight end, or you could have him against like a running quarterback, be like a spy in a sense. Cover 3 is what the Legion of Boom ran forever. It's something that they brought into the NFL as like, this is the new thing we're doing. Everybody should be doing it. The outside corners generally play the boundary, as it's called. So they basically guard from the hash to the sidelines. Anything down the field will be their area, while one of the safeties will usually come down into the box. And cover 3 is so popular forever because it allowed you to get that extra player down to help defend the run while keeping 3 players deep to defend the pass. Problem today's NFL is receivers have gotten disgusting. Like they are at
Crazy.
The peak of every team. It feels like has 2 really, really good receivers, and as a result,
there's no more. All right, this is our big guy that does this. This is our small guy that does this. Like they do everything, right? They're all AJ Green. They're all Julio Jones, right?
Mm-hmm. And in cover 3, the whole of the defense is in the middle of the field, and now quarterbacks like Tua and like all these accurate quarterbacks are just throwing there, and as a result, like teams have to go to more of like the older schemes, and like the NFL is just always adapting. Cover 3, I think, is played at the lowest rate it's been in the last 6 years. That's a result of Robert Saleh, D'Amico Ryans, Vic Fangio, their schemes being more popular and being more of like 2 safeties high, rotating out of it.
It's a copycat league, right? And it's moving. I'll tell you, what's going to happen next, man. The fullback's going to make a resurgence because you look at the success of the 49ers, of the Dolphins, of now the Texans. I'm telling you, when teams start the Ravens using Patrick Ricard, it's a copycat league. So we're going to see a lot of it, and you see a lot of it on defense too. So it's like, this is why I love bringing people like you on, dude, because it's like, that's the stuff that people don't think about, and you hear it all the time. And if you've never heard what it is and you're not thinking about it, then it's just going to go right over your head, right? Somebody says cover 1, cover 3, and you don't know what that is. People don't usually ask. So thank you for clearing that up, man. No, let's get into Steelers Ravens. 3-point spread. Obviously, Ravens are benching starters.
Yep.
OBJ has some incentives, but I'm not sure. They don't seem like the kind of team that's go out and say, we got to make sure we get this guy 6 catches. So I don't know about that. Steelers, though, must win to keep it alive. So they'll be playing for keeps. The question I'm going to ask for each one of these matchups is there an FFPC play here? So that means, like, is there a super chalk play here? Obviously not on the Ravens and probably not on the Steelers.
I think you could get creative with George Pickens. I think he's the only guy that I would deem like a blow-up matchup here. And it's just because, again, the Ravens are going to keep it really simple. They're not going to get super creative with their coverages. It's going to be there right in front of them. So it's kind of the simple fact of, like, on the outside, you're going to have one-on-one with George Pickens, because even a zone coverage means that you're guarding a man, which is the player in front of you, and George Pickens will be one-on-one for the whole game. And if you remember that first matchup with the Steelers, it was technically cover 0, but at the end of the day, it's one-on-one on the outside, and George Pickens won against their corners. I think he can do it against their backups. It's one of those things where the Steelers want to get up early, and if you saw Tomlin mic'd up last week where he's like, hey, we're throwing it. We're going to 14. This is going to you. You end the game. And I was like, wait, what? Like, we're going to throw it when we can run the clock out maybe. And the first play, Pickens catches it, goes 25 yards. I think the hate towards Pickens this year is warranted because of how he kind of portrayed himself in certain sense. But I think the talent of that dude, like, he could be one of the top receivers in the NFL. It's just, it's tough. It's a tough spot to be in with all the hate he's received. And on top of it, like, what the offensive design is.
Exactly. And there's a few guys like that. Like you need to have a quarterback that's confident throwing up contested catch balls. Same with Jahan Dotson. He has talent. He's not as bad as the numbers suggest, but he just doesn't have a play that likes doing that. I love this comment from Mile High Luke about the Chiefs carrying the fullback, specifically because the Chiefs fullback, Anthony Sherman, I played football with him for basically the entirety of my football career. From when I was young all the way through high school, he was the dude, and that guy was a freak, man. He was, offense, defense. He could throw with both hands. So we would pitch it to him. He'd throw it. We do halfback passes with him rolling right. If he rolled left, he'd throw it lefty. Yeah, sicko, dude. Yeah, he came out pitched right-handed and lefty in the alum game. So shout out Anthony Sherman, dude. Absolute freak, man.
That's wild.
He's a good dude too. So
yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, so you know what? We'll try and get through these matches as quick as possible. And what I'm doing is I'm taking notes of the FFPC plays you pull out here. So can you throw me a name? Is there anyone else that you're even considering using for classic DFS from this game?
From the Steelers Ravens, I mean, on the 2-game slate, of course, the running backs are fine, but FPC, no, none of those. None of that screams like must-have guy, must-have matchup. It's not ideal there.
Yeah, the guy's saying that's cool. Yeah, it was really cool. I was a quarterback, and when it was like 3rd and long, I would pitch it to Sherman so he could throw it. That's or if it was this is how good that kid was. If it was 3rd and long, we would just hand it to him and he would get it. So
that's
there you go. I want to throw out one last name as a deep dart throw. I like the idea of throwing Charlie Kohler in some lineups. He's a bare minimum price, and I think he's a pretty good tight end. I think he could potentially, if he was on some of these teams like the Colts right now with no Jelani Woods, he would start for these teams at tight end, even as the 3rd tight end of this team. So I think it's an interesting name. Next matchup here, Texans at Colts. 1.5 point spread, so it's anybody's game. 47.5 point over-under. Winner makes the playoffs, right? The Texans could also backdoor the AFC title with some shenanigans, but both teams are sitting here saying we got to win to make it in. What are your thoughts on this one? Is there an FFPC play in this matchup? I got to ask first and foremost.
Nico Collins. The Colts run cover 3 or cover 4 at a 60% clip with Tank Dell actually led them in targets against cover 3, but Nico Collins was basically right there with him. Stroud loves both of them. And Nico Collins on the perimeter, like we just saw Devontae Adams get like 20 targets and they had no answer to that. And that's Aiden O'Connell throwing the ball. With Stroud at back there, I think it's a big game for Nico. And the only way I would deem that it wouldn't be is if they can't get Devin Singletary going. Singletary is going to be a guy as well. Both of them in this matchup. The Slowick, the Shanahans, the McVays, McDaniels, like all these guys go ahead and get their best players of the ball as much as they possibly can and as creative as they possibly can. And the 2 best players for the Texans right now are Devin Singletary and Nico Collins, and they're going to find ways to get both of them, the ball frequently.
Awesome, man. I mean, Singletary, like he also has a bunch of incentives. I know they don't care about that as much this week, and we probably you shouldn't bet on that. But if they do go up big, you will see that a little bit. Like, say it does get out of hand, the Texans go up big, and Dalton Schultz has 5 catches, and he gets another $125,000 if he gets 6. They'll give him that. You know what I mean? Like, Devin Singletary as well has some incentives, but that's stuff that you only worry about in a blowout, and we're not predicting that. So if you think it's going to be the blowout to that degree, just bet on the Texans. You know what I mean? Like, just
take an alternate line.
Right, you're betting too far. You're getting too far over your skis. You know what I mean? It is kind of fun to throw a little something on it, but don't sit back and say, "Oh, Singletary has these incentives. I'm going to bet, a grand on him on his player props," because you're not the only person thinking that. Okay.
Oh yeah, and from the Colts side of things, Josh Downs is the only player I have interest in.
No Pittman,
Texans, huh?
No Pittman.
No, I'm not interested in Pittman, and it's just because of the fact that I think on the boundary, Stingley has been so good recent weeks. Obviously, I know the Amari Cooper blow-up game. Gardner Minshew doesn't throw the football like Joe Flacco. Like, it's wild to say that Joe Flacco in the year 2023 is just launching it, but he truly is doing something special, and Stefanski's amazing, but the slot is where you want to attack the Texans. They're officially running the San Fran scheme that D'Amico implemented, and that was attacked in the slot, and that was the best way to do it. Josh Downs obviously doesn't run a full route tree. He's been in and out of the lineup. His knee injury is obviously concerning. I don't think he's an FFPC play, but I do believe that for DFS purposes, I love him here.
At the price. Yeah. I'd love to see him. Eventually, he's going to get the Chris Godwin treatment, I think, where down the road, when Alec Pierce is gone or Michael Pittman maybe, is gone, he will be a full-time player. But right now, he's just a slot guy, right? Yeah. Playing like 85% of his snaps in slot. Shout out to Brad, dude. Second place, you know what? That's the thing. The biggest measure of how good you are is making the playoffs. After that, you're in the Plinko machine, and anybody can win. You know what I mean? So thank you. I appreciate the like. I appreciate the subscribe. Anybody else out there, if you're watching, like and subscribe. That is huge for us. I don't understand all the algorithms, but I've been told that a like, a subscribe, a retweet, things that you can do for free help to support us, help to feed the families. So appreciate you guys doing that. Next game here, Buccaneers. No Jonathan Taylor, FFPC? Real quick before we move on. Just yes or no on that.
No okay. Jonathan Taylor. Texans run defense. I said it before.
Hey, we got a million matchups to get through. I'm calling it a yes or no on that one, brother. Let's go. But dude. So here's the thing: we never get through it. We're not going to get through all the teams.
We're going to get
Justin Boone and I got through 4 teams.
Oh, we're going to get through more than that. That's
I think so.
Don't worry.
I think so, brother. But yeah, I had to call. I have to pull the plug sometimes on those.
That's fine.
Buccaneers at Panthers, 4.5 point spread. Now we're on Sunday on the main slate where this is where the DFS money is made. 37.5 point over under. Panthers are eliminated, but Bucs are playing for the division title. They need a little help. They need loss from New Orleans, but I don't know. What are you feeling on this one? Is there FFPC play here? I know Mike Evans went crazy on this team last time out, but different personnel. They got some guys healthy now, right?
Yeah, I think Mike Evans is still very much in play. The only way I'm treating this game, DJ Chark is the only Panther I have interest in from a DFS perspective because of the value. Yeah. And the only way I'm playing him is if I play Rashad White or double stack like a Baker, Evans, Godwin type lineup. FFPC, it's only Evans and Rashad White, and it's one of those things where I'm not going to play Godwin because I'm shooting for ceiling, not that safe floor.
We have to, yeah. Toronto Dave in the chat setting the over-under at 5.5 games. I mean, that's not crazy. So we're into the third game now, and we're 17 and a half minutes into the show. So we'll see on that. I mean, it's dicey, dude. So who do you think wins this game? Sometimes I like to ask that as well. And is there anything you're betting on? Always let me know if there's something betting on. But who do you think actually wins this one? Falcons or Saints? Because it's a huge playoff implication.
Well, Bucs or Panthers. I'm the Bucs Panthers, buddy.
Oh, sorry, I scrolled too far. Yeah, Bucs win this game, right? Yeah, easy one there. I'm surprised by the spread, only 4.5 though. As a Panthers fan, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's because of Baker's little injury that he had. I think that they mentioned it in practice, but I saw a video of him throwing. I think he's fine. It's one of those things where maybe the Panthers have nothing to lose, and we've been playing better, actually. As wild as that sounds. Last week against the Jaguars was really ugly, but we played really well against the Packers.
As a Panthers fan, Tommy Tremble, is he the guy moving forward? Or do you guys go back to the tight end? Well, there's not a lot of free agents, so it might have to be a draft pick.
I think Tommy Tremble has to be your just guy right now. It's ugly, man.
Yeah. Okay. Browns at Bengals. The Bengals are eliminated. Browns are sitting their starters. So Bengals are favored by 7 here. 47.5. Looks like the Bengals are going to come out and play. I don't know. What do you think, man?
I love Jake Browning on DFS this weekend. It's very dependent on if Jamar Chase plays, but I will be looking to double Browning with Chase if Jamar Chase gives it a go. Obviously, T. Higgins a hamstring injury. No reason for him to play. Jamar Chase, I believe he goes out there and plays. And the Browns, if they're sitting starters, Jim Schwartz is the scheme that's just going to blitz and let their guys play on the outside in press coverage. They did it their first week against the Bengals. Joe Burrow and company couldn't get it going. I think in this matchup, if they choose to do that, Jamar Chase has a nuclear type performance. And the 47.5 over under is much higher than most on the slate.
Much higher. The implied point total because of that for the Bengals is pretty high. Right. And so I know Chase could be an FFPC play. We got to see if he's good to go. So I put him on the list there. Vikings at Lions, 3 points favoring the Lions, 45.5 point over under. Vikings are eliminated. The Lions, it doesn't really matter. There is a slim chance they could swap seeds around. I got to ask Dan Campbell, man, he's come out and said, the players can rest when the season's over. There's plenty of time to rest in the offseason. But do you think, he could start the starters and then pull them, or do you think he's just going to play this one out straight, play it normal?
I think he's going to play it the way that the Packers did against them a few years ago.
Wow.
We got Aaron Rodgers when they won the division, they were cleared, and they decided to play their starters for like a half. And then in the second half, Jordan Love took over. It was like 3 years ago, which is what Campbell saw. I think Goff and them will give it a go for the first half, and then they'll pull them.
Okay. So in that case, we're out. I think Sam Laporte needs one catch to get the rookie receiving record. So I imagine they get him that, but like he's not going to catch Mike Ditka. So I think that makes me want to avoid the Lions completely.
Yeah, it does. And their floor, but not even a floor. They have no ceiling. Like I don't see ceiling, them, blowing it out here. There's no reason.
And because the backups are only going to play half the game too, you're not going to go there either. Like you can't go with Craig Reynolds if he's going to play just part of the game. So what about the Vikings? Anything on that side?
No. Nick Mullins is back there. I mean, like Jay Jettas could, but like I don't know. He like motivation side of things. He's the player that's always talked about winning and making sure he gets his money. Why go out there and I mean you got to protect yourself, you got to play hard, but like it's one of those things like it's scary for me to go to him in a spot where it's like it's Nick Mullins who's setting him up for death. Like if you watch him catch passes,
it is crazy, dude.
He's been just
hospital passes.
It's been bad.
Yeah, especially that one where he got hurt on. So all right, Jets at Patriots, man. This one's going to be disgusting. 1.5 point spread, 30.5 point over under. So just kind of a slugfest. Anything here that you would do in an FFPC?
No, I'm passing on this game in general. If there's
we just skip it, dude. I say we just straight up skip it. You want to? I mean, we don't have a lot of time. So.
I don't have anything to say about that one. It's just if there's a player that blows up, then whatever. Sorry, I didn't have him.
Exactly. So I mean, that right there gets us our over under TD. That's we're flying. So a game that I accidentally thought we were on earlier, Falcons at Saints. I think the reason was that there's both of the South divisions in the AFC and NFC are kind of wide open. Like different teams can take it. Either one of these teams can technically win too, right? So if Tampa Bay loses, right, and then if Tampa Bay loses, the winner of this game wins the division. Yeah, and then if Tampa Bay wins, they win, right? That's the situation. Okay, yeah. So Falcons Saints here. I mean, and then the Saints can all. I think that's the only way any of them get in the playoffs. They can't backdoor their way in, so they have to win the division. Yeah. This one, I feel like we got to pull some players from here. You think for an FFPC team, if both teams are playing for keeps?
For an FFPC team, I don't know if I would go here from the blow-up matchup, and the reason is the Falcons and Saints, both of them play the same defense. It's fun. Ryan Nielsen came over from the Saints. They stole him during the offseason, and both of these teams play a lot of cover 2 man. And as a result, it's a situation where you don't have a lot of explosive plays happening against you unless you're just a great offensive coordinator, a great scheme. These teams don't have either. It's one of those spots where I don't like Olave's intriguing, but I wouldn't put him over a lot of the guys we've talked about. And then Drake London is the only Falcon player because I don't know if Bijan's going to get the ball. This might be a Cordell Patterson game for all we know with Arthur Smith. Yeah. He's just nightmare of a coach. If you're a fantasy football fan, you hope the Saints blow them out by 40. That's what we're all rooting for.
Okay. We'll put those names as honorable mentions as potential. I'm keeping a little list. So I want to see if we can get through, if possible, if we can get through and then do the FFPC team last. I'll have a list of guys we've mentioned and then we can go through and pick it. And Angelo in the chat makes a great point. Pats or Jets defense, because we in this particular one we need a defense and a kicker. So maybe that's where we pull a defense from.
Yeah, we could pull the defense. We could pull the Patriots defense.
Okay, I like that. Falcons at Saints. We did that one. Jaguars at Titans. 3.5 point spread. Over under 41.5. Jaguars playing for the AFC South, obviously. And they're going to know if Pittsburgh won or lost because Pittsburgh plays the day before. If Pittsburgh wins, that puts the heat on a bunch of teams. It puts the heat on the Jaguars, and depending on what happens with the Jaguars, puts the heat on the Bills. Like the Bills on the Sunday night game will go into that game knowing that they're either going to win the division or they could potentially miss the playoffs completely. As a Patriots fan, I've already jumped the ship completely into team chaos So I'm rooting for like the 3% chance that the Vikings make the playoffs, like all these crazy things. So, but Jags and Titans are eliminated. So, okay, this is where I'm going to ask about the incentives, because with some of these other guys, you look at it and say, okay, this team is playing to win. The incentives aren't that crazy. In this case, DeAndre Hopkins' contract is chock full of incentives, and he could make an extra $1 million this week. So in that case, do you ever bet on that, or do you ever think about that in DFS, or do you just try and play it straight?
I try to play it straight because it's all about matchup specific, because like the Jaguars aren't going to let D-Hop get his incentives, but Ryan Tannehill is going to force D-Hop the incentives. Right. Exactly. It's one of those things where I do like D-Hop in this matchup, and it's not because his incentives. It's because the matchup makes sense for him. He dominates targets against cover 3. That is what the Jaguars live in. They're one of those teams that just, this is who we are, this is how we're going to operate. And as a result, D-Hop is a guy that like just blow up game can be there. It's just depending on, can Ryan Tannehill throw him the ball and not, force it to him to the point where he's just getting killed.
Okay. All right. So Hopkins potentially FFPC, maybe? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, we could put it there.
On the other side, so there's going to be no Kelsey, Kittle, Njoku. We don't want to use Laporta. So at some point we're going to have to pick a tight end. Is Ingram in the running for that? Or what are your I guess
it doesn't matter who plays either, because at the end of the day, I saw the way that their offense ran against the Panthers. They wanted to get him the ball as much as possible, because it's a quarterback's best friend is his tight end when he's good. And Evan Ingram is a very, very good tight end. It's remarkable how good he's become.
It's funny. I was told that he couldn't catch.
Yeah, no, he catches.
Now he has 100 catches. That's funny how that happens. Yeah, right. I'll tell you so like Ingram, that whole thing. I just want to say this real quick, especially with regards to Laporta. People out there, and this is why it's so dangerous to have a take like rookie tight ends can never be good, right? And it is ridiculous, but it's even more dangerous than a lot of other takes, because a lot of takes out there, once the first game of the season happens, it's easy for you to shut that take off and adjust, right? Mm-hmm. But if you say rookie tight ends can never be good, he doesn't stop being a tight end after the first game of the season. So once you get that take in your mind, you're not adding him off waivers, right? You're not going to be fast enough to add Laporta and Kincaid and Musgrave, because you've already decided that this particular flavor of player can't be good. And that's why it's so dangerous to build a take like that, because the people that said, I'll never draft a rookie tight end, well, week 1, they didn't turn around and say, oh, never mind, I was definitely wrong about that after one game, right? So those takes are so very dangerous. You have to be very careful with getting yourself locked into something like that that's going to not only mess up your draft, but mess up your thought process for the rest of the year.
I think the other thing with that, like Brock Bowers is going to be overdrafted.
For sure.
And he's a stud. Like Brock Bowers, I think from day one, he will be a top 10 tight end in the NFL. He is the best tight end I have ever watched coming out of college. And that's nothing to Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was a freakazoid. Kyle Pitts played receiver. It was rarely playing like
he still
tight
does.
end. Like I think Brock Bowers is Sam Laporta, but better. And
so
that's scary. That's a scary thing to say, because Sam Laporta is like, he's with the Kelseys of the world right now. Like not prime Kelsey, but where Kelsey's decline and Laporta is like right there with him. It's crazy.
People did not like my Laporta tweet this week. They didn't know what to do with it. I tweeted. Did you see what I tweeted?
I didn't see it.
I said, if Sam Laporta has 166 yards this week, he will tie the rookie year for Kyle Pitts in receiving yards.
Yeah.
And people were just like, they wanted to say something. Those are the best tweets. They want to say something, but they don't know what to say. Because like we've already decided Kyle Pitts isn't good, but I mean, he did have 200 more yards than, but regardless, like I like both players. And I'll tell you what, we're still going to go through the same process with Brock Bowers. Like he still needs to have the opportunity for us to draft him and redraft, right? Yep. There are certain teams, I mean, like the perfect landing spot for him for NFL is the Dolphins, man. Like
that would be phenomenal. I like the Bengals.
The Bengals would be great for fantasy. If the Bengals the perfect spot for fantasy would be T. Higgins leaves.
That's what I'm saying.
And they grab, For fantasy, it's not as good. But the Dolphins do need a two-way tight end to run the system properly. I was saying all offseason, they should have grabbed Dalton Schultz. Of course, another team that runs the same system with DeMeco Ryans and Bobby Slowick were doing that too. But like now, what are they going to do? Go get Hunter Henry? Like,
oh, the Dolphins, I mean,
they need a two-way tight end.
It's what they need to just stay healthy. That's the biggest thing, man.
I think they need something better. Durham Smythe is a good blocker, but if they had a true two-way tight end, that team would be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Like George Kittle, for instance. You know what I mean? Like, obviously you can't just go get a George Kittle, but that's what makes the 49ers just at a tiers above where the Dolphins are right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they've got Alec Ingold, who is Kyle Juszczyk, right? They've got Tyreek Hill and Waddle, who are your Debo and Ayuk. The QB play is great. They have even got Teron Armstead, who's Trent Williams to some degree, right? He's not Trent Williams, but he's Teron Armstead. Right? Yeah. They need that two-way tight end. That's the last piece of the puzzle. That team can win the Super Bowl, I think. So it wouldn't be great. It wouldn't be amazing for fantasy right away, but I think that it would help them out. Anyway, let's get back to the games. Cowboys at Commanders. We already said you and I talked about it off air, actually. So CeeDee Lamb, right? Like he's in the lineup already. FFPC, first name we click on, CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, no, CeeDee Lamb, the only person, if you're not playing CeeDee Lamb, which you should, it just should be Pollard. You should be playing a Cowboy. The Commanders, they're just bad. They're a very bad football team. Cowboys here, it's a spot where they need to just win, keep that 2 seed, avoid, traveling on the road in the first week, because they obviously have those home away splits, and also avoid playing the 49ers in the second round. I think that's the biggest thing for their weekend. It's not their first week being on the road. It's the fact that they won't have to play the 49ers until the NFC Championship.
Push that game off. Hope something crazy happens.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, last year they lost all their quarterbacks, right? Yeah. Last year. So, I mean, crazy things can happen.
Yeah, and the Eagles can beat them. Like, the Eagles can go to Fort San Fran and win that game, and then the Cowboys get to play the Eagles at home.
That'd be great.
Way better. Yeah. Don't play 49ers in the second round, Cowboys, or you'll be exiting the playoffs.
Right. I think that's why, that's why the 49ers, there's been some chatter in our chats recently this week that that's why the 49ers are letting the Rams in. They think the Rams can go take care of the Lions, right?
Oh, yeah.
The little revenge game narrative.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Yeah. Sick them. Right. There's a lot of teams that, you got to think about that, right? Like the Ravens, for instance, they look at the Steelers and say, you know what? Go ahead and be the 7th seed. We'll see you. If you win, we'll be happy to play you, right? Like you get to pick and choose who. Yeah, Anthony in the chat was the one saying that. Good call, Anthony, dude. So yeah, I mean, but before we move on, Commanders, we can only play one player from each team. Is there a player from this team?
No,
right?
No reason to go there.
Okay. Seahawks at Cardinals. This is an interesting one. 47.5 point over under, 3-point spread, which puts us in the land of shootout potential, right? Anything close to 50 point over under with a spread that's, not insane. Seahawks are must win. The Cardinals are kind of building a winning culture, doing what the Lions did at the end of Dan Campbell's first year, where it's like, you got to decide. They're not tanking, right? Anyone that watched James Conner talk after the game, that dude is not tanking. No. That dude is playing. Yeah, that dude is ripping faces off in the name of the Lord, right? So I'll tell you, this could be a good one. Is there anything we can pull from this for our FFPC team?
I love DK Metcalf here. This is a Cardinals team that we've seen receivers just have explosion games against them, mostly when it's a bigger body dude that's winning down the field. One of the Cardinals' primary coverages is quarters, which is cover 4. Explain that it's like an umbrella. They try to keep things in front of them, but the way the Cardinals play it, their safeties, instead of 12 to 15 yards off the ball, they play 7 to 11 yards off the ball. So they're down. Okay. So DK Metcalf running that seam, running anything. You could go down the field. Just the Jamar Chase game against the Cardinals with Joe Burrow, the first game they locked
3 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, something. He had 200 yards receiving. DK Metcalf against cover 4 this year with Geno Smith averages 5 yards per route run. So it's a big week for DK Metcalf and that quarters coverage.
Let's lock him in for sure then.
Yeah.
I'm moving him up with CeeDee Lamb there. On the Cardinals side, are we going to go there? We're going to do a little Kyler Murray, a little Trey McBride maybe?
Trey McBride is super intriguing because I think Bobby Wagner is just too slow. It's one of those things where he should not be in the Pro Bowl. It's ridiculous that he's in the Pro Bowl over Levante David, but we don't have to get into that.
That's what happens when you're a fan favorite of multiple fan bases now, right? Yeah. Like Bobby, people like him. I like Bobby.
They love him. Yeah, no, he's an awesome dude. He's just not a Pro Bowl player. Like, the Pro Bowl needs fixing. It should be just voted by the players.
It should be voted on by fantasy analysts, dude, because we actually care. It should be the IDP guys. Gary Davenport should make the team himself. You know what I mean? Like Jordan Loop and like seriously though, because we actually care about what matters most. Versus like journalists are always rooting for the story. They're not rooting for players. They're not rooting for teams. Like that's how DeMar Hamlin could still win comeback player of the year is because they already started writing the stories and they like the story, right? And so. Enough about that. I don't want to get too deep in that.
No. But Cardinals here, it's just Trey McBride and James Conner. I have no interest in the receivers.
All you need to know is Terrell Owens wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
It's a joke. That's a joke, dude.
That's ridiculous.
Like he is second or third in literally every stat.
Yeah.
If he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, then Jerry Rice is the only first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah.
Terrell Owens and Randy Moss easily. Like Randy Moss was. What the heck? That's just journalists being jerks. That's all that is, man. Go look at Terrell Owens' numbers. They'll boggle your little mind. He played in the Super Bowl with a broken leg. You know what I mean? Like
he had like 70 yards or 100 yards in that game, which is insane.
He had a broken leg, and they're saying he's a bad teammate, dude. Come on now, dude. Bad teammate, dude. Your coworkers don't go to work when they have the sniffles. This guy's showing up with a broken leg, dude. You know, so so there you go. Anyway, next game here. Eagles at Giants. Again, I don't like it because the Eagles are going to be scoreboard watching. I feel like they'd be insane. Darren Waller hasn't played more than 60% of the snaps. You're gonna lean on him in this game of all games. He has serious long-term hamstring issues. I don't think he should play at all. So, I look at this game and I don't know if I'm pulling anybody. Jordan, are you?
From an FFPC standpoint, I think you can look at the Eagles, but I don't think you should because the only thing that I would counter is like the Eagles offensively are they have to get going. They absolutely need some sort of confidence. But the problem is the Giants are going to punch, man. They're one of those teams that they're going to blitz the house and just punch you in the mouth. And if you're not like fully invested, and they haven't been, it just gets ugly. It should be an AJ Brown game, but I don't.
Well, I'll tell you this. Here's the thing. Nick Sirianni already pretty much said that if it comes down to it, they'll be scoreboard watching and they will pull the starters. So I don't like it in FFPC where we have to be perfect. But in DFS, I kind of do like the idea of like, okay, well, what if the Commanders hang on for a bit? The longer the Commanders hang on, the longer the Eagles have to play for keeps, right?
Yep.
So I'd say in DFS, do it, not in our FFPC, not in our sweet baby. So next one here, Rams at 49ers. Both teams are resting starters. In FFPC, I don't like digging, but
not playing either.
DFS, anything?
No. Nah, I can't get into like who's gonna play for these teams.
No Austin Trammell, dude.
No Austin Trammell. It's Carson Wentz, man. No
Davis Allen. He's slow. He's tall.
He is tall. I wish Hunter Long was healthy so we could see who the Rams traded Jalen Ramsey for. Go out there.
Dude, there's a quote I dug up from the Dolphins tight end coach that he was like, Hunter Long's coming around a bit, he's all right. And then they asked him, like, what do you mean by that? And he was like, I didn't know if this guy even actually wanted to play football, to be honest with you. Like, that was a legitimate quote from the tight end coach from the Dolphins. He was like, I'm not sure this guy likes football. That's the guy you got traded for. Yeah,
that's great.
He's like, it's nice. He's like, he's doing okay. He's like, he's doing okay now. But what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, I didn't even know if he liked football. So that's not. You don't want that quote on your resume.
Yeah.
So that's a rough one. So we'll skip that one. Bears at Packers. Bears are eliminated, but this is one of those toxic relationships where they've been called the little brother for a long time, right, dude? Like everybody, and it's not just Aaron Rodgers. Like now, Jair Alexander and everybody's doing it too. Do they play spoiler here? I think they play for keeps here.
I think Justin Fields should be in the pool. I mean, he's not just playing for keeps. Like all the year he's had, like I'm so intrigued to see what they do with the first overall pick between Caleb and him. I don't think there's a clear-cut right answer because we're never going to know what trades are offered on both sides. But Justin Fields, he's playing to be the franchise quarterback or the franchise quarterback of other teams.
Like, are we using him in our FFPC lineup?
I think that he should
I
be
love that. There's no stacking allowed. So I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Just rushing. Like
let's do that. That solves a lot of problems for us, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because now we don't have to debate like, oh, use this guy or that guy
Yeah.
from this quarterback, that quarterback. We don't have to worry about it. Okay,
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so we'll use him. And then on the Packers side, is there anybody there?
Packers side of things, Jaden Reed. There's so many injuries with them. I think Aaron Jones is it PPR?
It's PPR and it's tight end premium.
Okay, so Aaron Jones could be considered, but that's it.
We you know what's good about that is that you're such a coverage guy. You've said the name of literally one running back on the entire show. Devin Singletary like an hour ago.
Yeah, Devin Singletary. Now we got Aaron Jones.
Not that we're even going to use Singletary. I'm saying you haven't even mentioned the names of any running backs. Not even one name. I haven't like keeping track. I'm like, is he going to even say the name of a running back at any point? Oh, you also said Rashad White's name. So
yes, I did. I got two.
I forced you to say something about Jonathan Taylor that I told you to shut up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then, so we got Aaron Jones there.
We have to start 2 running backs, but the rest we can do 2 wide receivers and all flexes if we want.
Yeah, no, I already have my running back lock that we're talking about in a little bit.
Yeah. So 2 more games, then let's do that, and then we'll come back and talk about the night game. Chiefs at Chargers. Chiefs are resting starters. I've got like a crazy deep name for you for DFS if you want to hear.
The Deneric Prince?
Deeper. He's not even on the roster at this moment.
I have no idea.
So there's a tight end. If he doesn't get called up, then it doesn't matter. But if he gets called up, I'm sneaking him into a DFS lineup. His name is Isaiah Gathings, right? And let's see.
I don't even know what college he's from.
Sure, I don't either. He was a wide receiver, so he's like 6'6", 220.
Oh, he played at Middle Tennessee State last year.
There you go, dude. Middle Tennessee State running corn cobs. What's the name of Middle Tennessee State? You're a big college guy.
They're the Tech or some shit. Tennessee. I think it's like Middle Tennessee Tech. I don't know what their mascot
Techies. Yeah. So yeah, but the thing is, if they like Noah Gray is also a guy that plays a ton of snaps for this team. So if they're going to rest everybody and rest Travis Kelce and rest Noah Gray, maybe they do just call this guy up. They signed him 2 weeks ago. He was with the team in August and July. So it's not like he's just showing up and he's never been around the organization. He was with the team in August, July, got cut when they cut down from 90, and they brought him back 2 weeks ago, and he's a converted wide receiver. He's not particularly fast, but
if he catches a pass, I will be surprised, and I'm hoping for it.
I'm telling you, if they're going full backups, it's him and Blake Bell. I mean, I don't know. 2,500. It's a very stupid, deep dart throw. If you can find a line on him that's like over 1 yard or over 0.5 receptions, that's probably the way to go. But know the name, Isaiah with a Z. On the Charger side, they're eliminated. They're probably not going to – no Josh Palmer, no Keelan Allen. I mean, do you do anything there? Austin Eckler?
Nobody of interest. No reason to go there.
All right, Broncos, the Roadrunners. It's the Lightning. Which one is it? Lightning.
Lightning.
That's kind of a sick name.
It's like a blue like looking Bronco, and it has a lightning bolt in the middle.
Okay,
of it.
The Roadrunners. Okay, Broncos at Raiders. 2.5 point spread, 37.5 point over under. Both teams eliminated. Can we pull anything from here?
I mean, Devontae Adams can be pulled just because of the fact that like Aiden O'Connell seems just like, hey, you get the ball, you're getting it. But other than that, like no real reason. They're going to play hard because that's just what Antonio Pierce has made them buy into, and they're going to play for their coach. But as far as, I mean, I guess you could look at the running back, Zamir White, because Josh Jacobs should just not play, right? He's not playing for the rest of the year, I don't think.
No. That would be cool. That would make zero sense.
Yeah, Zamir White is definitely a player that I would consider.
So on this slate, we have the Saturday games and the night game is included. So let's just talk about that quick because we're going to include those guys. So Bills, Dolphins are like, we got to include a Bill. We got to include a Dolphin. This is probably going to be a huge part of where the points come from here. So let's go. James
Cook, sorry.
James White is back, dude.
Yeah. James Cook, without a doubt in my mind. That Ravens game.
My dog hears James White. She goes crazy, dude. Big Pats fan. So.
Oh, jeez. But no, I'm sorry. James Cook. The linebackers of the Miami Dolphins can't cover me. Like, it is the Ravens picked on them the whole game. Like, Justice Hill had, I think, 100 total yards, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong, but it was a lot of pass catching for him. Lamar Jackson throwing the running backs is like one of the myths of fantasy football. Like, he doesn't do that because he just sees them and he's like, you go block, I'm running. But no, he was hitting on wheel routes. Like Joe Brady, it was Panthers guy, one of my favorite offensive coordinators that we had. Problem is we gave him no sense of a quarterback and no ability to really like the flexibility to run the offense and stuff.
He and Terrace Marshall are going to link up somewhere and set the league on fire, dude.
Oh my god!
The worst timeline. What the Panthers would have been if they fired Matt Rule instead of Joe Brady.
That'd be so funny.
But sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. But James Cook is a guy that like they're just going to attack them. He's going to get 25 touches like he's been all season long. And with Bradley Chubb gone, now you have Jalen Phillips gone. The edge of Miami is not there, non-existent, and it's a similar thing that is going on with the Commanders, where the Commanders are just really a bad defense overall now. The Dolphins at least have the secondary to do things, but Vic Fangio is going to have to pull a trick out of the hat to be able to stop defense or offenses now, because I don't think they're going to get a pass rush from the exterior. And teams are just going to run away from Christian Wilkins and Zach Taylor and make their linebackers and corners and stuff make plays. I know Diggs went crazy in their first game. I don't think Jalen Ramsey's going to allow that to transpire in this one. James Cook, and then Miami Dolphins side of things, best player in big games. It's a huge game for Tyreek Hill.
Yes. Okay. Good. Easy. Nice. Yeah, so,
dude,
week 18. Jordan, I've been kind of like figuring out how I want to do this show. It's the first year doing the show, and we're figuring out. I think this is how we should do it. Like FFPC is our sponsor. Go through, pull the FFPC plays out of the games, and then make a lineup. Right. So I just got a list of all the names that you just dropped. Right. So we're gonna go to myffpc.com. We're gonna use promo code Coop. First time depositors get $25 when they deposit 35 or more, and now we're gonna take those names and we're gonna build a lineup. Thing is, probably can't. Oh, look at that. Tony behind the glass over there is where it is. You can scan that QR code. It'll bring you right over there, or go to myffpc.com. Just use promo code Coop. You want to get set up for this week, and you definitely want to go and reserve a spot for the FFPC playoff challenge. Next week, we're going to be doing a bunch of stuff for that when the playoffs are set, but reserve a spot now because those always sell out, man. I got into 2 last year, and I was like, I think I'm going to do a couple more. And I went back in and wasn't even close to the weekend yet, and they were already sold out. So I was pretty sad about that, but I got a couple in there. It's a lot of fun. So let's jump in now. I'm going to pull up the thing here. Let's get rid of that FFPC thing. So it's not a screen for ants here, Tony. Thank you. So I've got the list here. We definitely are going to put in, as we just said, we're going to do James Cook, right? So he's in. If I could spell, then we would be able to find him a little easier. There he is. Bang. Okay, we said we're going to do Justin Fields too. Yeah. So Justin Fields is in. That makes our life easy, because I love that you can't stack in this, because too many times you get smoked, right? Where it's like, if you don't have 2 in Tyreek Hill, you just lost. Right. So you can't do it.
Tyreek Hill and then CD.
Yeah. And we're going to want to move. I'm going to put Tyreek in after, because I want him in a flex spot in case. Because you can. That's one other fun thing, is that like you can see the scores at like 4:30. And then be like, okay, I know this guy has Tyreek. I'm going to pivot to Waddle, or I'm going to pivot to Raheem Mostert. And we actually, with Justin Boone, we did that. Everybody was on A.J. Brown one week. We pivoted to Devonta Smith, and we switched the kicker, and we edged out a couple guys there. It's pretty cool stuff. So we had James Cook. We had CeeDee Lamb, right?
Yep.
See how many you can remember.
We have Aaron Jones. I know that's the other running back that I talked about in like a mini stack of that game with. He's questionable, but I think
we'll be all right.
I think he is fine.
Well,
I saw him fight someone after last week's game, so he should be okay.
Right. So that actually brings me to a couple decision points. So like before we put in Aaron Jones, do we want to go Nico Collins or Devin Singletary?
I think we should go Singletary, because I think we have so many more receivers. I have so much receivers.
We have a ton of receivers to use. Yeah. I mean, we can still use it. We can still use them at the flex.
Yeah.
So, so we got that one. Did we want to use Mike Evans or Rachaad White?
I would go Mike Evans.
Okay. Yeah. I like Evans. He's been so good. And technically, I know he probably doesn't care about it as much as we do, but if he scores one more touchdown, he ties his career record, which is also the Buccaneers' career record. So
that's why
he could be going for that.
Consistent receiver ever.
Easily, dude. 1,000 yards every year, no matter what. Maybe not week to week, but season to season, no question.
What kicker are we picking?
Usually we go for the kicker at the end once we've kind of settled out. Unless you have a name that's like a ringer, dude. Unless you have like a ringer out there. We'll get to that at the end. We'll get to that at the end.
All right.
So we've got. So here are some other names that we threw out there. Oh, one you were definitely adamant about is DK Metcalf.
Yep.
Right.
And Jamar Chase.
So we'll get Metcalf in.
Chase.
We'll get Chase in. So now we're into the land of we were like, you were a little wishy-washy, so I put him on the list, whether or not we wanted to use him. We've got, before we get to that, let's pick a tight end. Do you want to use Ingram and McBride?
I think we go McBride.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to play to win. That we know the Jaguars are too, but technically the Titans are one of the best teams in DVOA versus the tight end. They
think they've allowed like one touchdown this year or something ridiculous.
Yeah, it's been good. Even after trading Kevin Byard. I mean, last week they held Dalton Schultz to, if you started Schultz in your championship, you probably lost. That's where they held him to.
Yeah.
So we'll go McBride. I mean, he's
tight end. Unbelievable. He's inevitable.
It's tight end premium. If he gets 8 catches, that's 16. It's whatever it is. It's 12 catches.
Yeah.
You don't like McBride?
No, I love him as a player. Like I loved him at Colorado State. You have no idea how much I played him in college football DFS. It's kind of disgusting because tight ends in college football always are like 3,800, and his stats at Colorado State were ridiculous. So crazy. I played him a ton, just like Sam Laporta, except for Iowa tight ends are always priced at 4,800 because they know they're aware.
Yeah, they know it's a tight end, dude.
Yeah. So no, McBride here, just because we also get the mini stack of DK Metcalf. It's a little fun, little action there, and he's inevitable. And if Jamal Adams somehow plays again, I don't know if he's going to this year because they shouldn't put him out there. If he's guarding him, it's McBride season.
Yeah, easy, man. I mean, dude, there was a period. Jamal Adams was like an 8-year vet, and looking at his stats, Troy Brown had more interceptions than him.
Yeah, no, Jamal Adams should just convert to an off-ball linebacker like Isaiah Simmons and just blitz. I think the Giants would be the best fit for him personally, but continue.
With Wink, right?
Wink Martindale.
Yeah, So Anthony, earlier in the show, you might have missed it. Jay, we're off JT for this. We're potentially maybe in for DFS, but not for this one. Don't like the matchup. So here are the name. We need 2 flexes, and we have about 5 or 6 names remaining that we mentioned. So here are the options. I'm going to go through them all, and you tell me. You pick the best one, and then we got to pick another one. So we got George Pickens.
Okay.
We have Olave or London. We have DeAndre Hopkins. We have Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams. Yeah.
It's so funny to say those names out loud and be like, George Pickens over Devontae Adams.
I know. But that's the world we're in, dude. That's the world
we're in. I think we definitely go Aaron Jones because
it's also I'll also mention it's tight end premium, so we could go Evan Ingram if we wanted to. We just did say how hard the matchup is though, but
I don't think I could. Like, if we go Evan Ingram, we would go D-Hop.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go Pickens.
Yeah.
That gives us a Saturday player, which is fun.
Yeah, and we could put him at the wide receiver position, replace him with like Mike Evans or something.
Yeah.
And we
Hopkins?
go D-Hop. Yeah, I think we go D-Hop.
I like it, man. Okay, so defense, we said Patriots. We don't have to worry about stacking that one up.
You might have just been in receiver. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I've just been doing this all year for our sponsor. I'll figure out how it works at some point.
Okay.
And then so now here, the pick you were so anxious and desperate to make.
It's Young-Ho Koo. This man has been off lately. He's been out awful. He has missed some kicks, but you bet your sweet self he makes up for it against the Saints here, and he just drills field goal after field goal to make Justin Tucker feel bad. And we can't pick Tucker. Oh, no, we could have, but that's fine.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. Not with the backups. So there you go, dude. That's the lineup. Fields, Singletary, Cook, Lamb, Evans, Pickens, Metcalf, Hopkins, Chase, McBride, Koo, Pats. This is your first time making one of those. Doesn't it feel crazy having a lineup like that? And
it's just weird.
In regular weeks, they're even crazier. Oh, wait a second. We got to take Hopkins out because I forgot to put Tyreek Hill in. That's that's called awareness right there.
That's very good. Yeah, no, I was like, wait a minute. I mean,
because I want him in the flex. That's why.
Yeah,
I want him in the flex. So there you go,
Pickens
man.
we should probably put Pickens to the receiver spot over Lamb. You know, we
Yep.
gotta build this lineup correctly, and I like that we only have 2 running backs. That's perfect, and they both played for the Bills last year.
There you go. Well, I'll do that. I'll do the housekeeping after the show. I'll organize that. What we
Good.
got to do now is go over to myffpc.com, use promo code Coop. They'll give you $25 when you deposit 35 or more. Get set up for this, reserve a spot for the playoff challenge, and take care of that. The other thing that we got to do, Jordan, is you got to tell everybody where they can find your stuff, because I'm sure everybody that listened to the show today, we're like, dude, I actually learned something today about cover 1 and cover 3 and cover 4 and cover 0. So tell them where they can find your stuff, what you got going on. Obviously, your Twitter handle's right there on the screen. But yeah, what you got popping over at 33rd?
I'll be making a week 18 DFS piece that will come out on Saturday. We've got a show later today with Hilo talking all things of this weekend. Usually I go light on this weekend, to be fully transparent. It's not the week that I love to take advantage of, and I will be prepping for a lot of content coming out in the playoffs. And then on top of it, Senior Bowl week, I will be down there in Mobile on the field, boots on the ground. That's where I found Tank Dell, Dontavian Wicks, and some of the other guys that are performing this year, where I was all over him. Luke Musgrave actually popped for me while watching him at Senior Bowl, because he was just bigger and faster than everybody there, and it was really strange to watch him get going. But
and he didn't do pretty much anything at the combine. So
no,
if you didn't get that experience and you didn't get information from Jordan on that, then you had no information. So that's why we appreciate you going down there and doing that stuff for us.
Tank Dell was my favorite guy last year, so I'm hoping there's the talent this year is higher than last year. Give you a sneak preview: Xavier Legette from South Carolina. Statistically, the analytics community is going to destroy him. He was a quarterback in high school that converted to wide receiver and played at the SEC level. He's built between a DK Metcalf and an AJ Brown, and he plays similar to both of them. So that type of receiver is kind of being a guy that I think will be overlooked by the analytics community. I hope he finds himself in Houston, because if he gets to Stroud and Dell, they could just let Nico Collins just fade and be another guy on another team and get that money.
It's entirely possible.
Xavier Legette comes in.
Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. Folks in the chat are calling me stupid for missing the Tyreek Hill move. They're calling you a genius. They say 33rd props. Go check it out. Big money Vanek. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out. Like, subscribe. Thank you, Tony behind the glass. And thank you, Jordan. We're out of here, but stay tuned. After this, on this very channel, coming up in like 2 minutes, is Brit's Blitz with Britt Flynn, our very favorite. Always plugged in, especially on the injuries and all that stuff. So make sure you get your questions in on who's going to play this week, who's going to not. But that's it for us. Thank you guys for